MAME is a multi-arcade machine emulator that emulates arcade machines, computer systems, and more. The user must supply the ROMs, software, and any other files needed, like BIOS or extra data files such as CHD files. You can view more documentation and resources from mamedev.org. However, the main site I recommend for this tutorial is from adb.arcadeitalia.net. Arcade Italia has a search for the games and will list the status and the files needed to run them, along with other useful information. MAME arcade zips will contain all the necessary files that completes the ROM set. Separate files in the form of CHD files or BIOS files may be needed as well. ROM sets for arcade games come in two main flavors, merged and unmerged. Merged ROM sets will combine the files together such that the files are not duplicated. Non-merged zips have all the files duplicated, and this is what Bizhawk needs to run. adb.arcadeitalia.net lists out the necessary files needed to create an unmerged zip if you are unable to find a non-merged zip for your game. Keep in mind that MAME is updated frequently and many ROM sets change over time. It is important to get a ROM set with the same version to test. Otherwise, the game may not work. In Arcade Italia, searching the title and looking at the game status is usually enough to determine if a game will run well. Green means good and should always work. Yellow means imperfect. There can be some minor issues. Red means preliminary. This means that the ROM may not work at all. You will have to play through it to the end to check for playability. These may not boot, or may crash at certain points, or have minor graphical issues. Make sure to always avoid games that have a bad dump status. How to run several games in MAME. The first one is Karnov. I pulled it up here in arcadeitalia.net. We are first going to look and see at the status of the game. If you scroll down, you can see that the overall status is all green. It's all good. Next, you want to check to see what files are required. Go to Files, and click on the expander, and all it shows is one file. It does not need any other CHD files or any other BIOS files. We can also see that the dump is good. To run this in Bizhawk, you could either drop in the file or go to File, Open Advanced, click Launch Game, then navigate to the folder that has the ROM set zip. You can select it, click Open, and it should run. And it does. Or you could just drop it in, like this, by drag and drop. The next game I'm going to show how to run is Area 51. I have it open here on arcadeitalia.net. Let us look at the status first. It's all good. Now, let's go look at the required files. See here, you need the file and then the CHD file, which is extra data. So what you have to do is first we are going to open up Bizhawk, go to Tools, then go to Multi-Disk Bundler. Now the way this works is it's going to generate a XML file that will select and load the assets. First, we want to navigate to the folder that we want the XML to be in. And I'm going to name it the same name as the game name, the ROM set game. Select the system as arcade. Then we're going to go back to that same folder, which I'm just copy pasting, and select the ROM set. You have to select the ROM set first, then the CHD file. So here, this will be the ROM set, then you will have the CHD file. We're going to select Save, and it creates the XML file below. I'm going to click Save and Run. You can overwrite it, it's fine. And because the CHD file is so large, it will take a second to load. Okay, so this is Area 51, so it's running. Now what you can also do, once you have the XML files, you don't have to continually open the multi-disk bundler and select the files each time. Once you have the XML file, you can just drag and drop the XML file in, and it'll load the game again. Of course, you all have to wait, since the game is large. The next example is going to be the most complicated. It's going to be Guilty Gear XX. We open it and we go to the bottom. We can see how this status is preliminary. However, this one can be run, but there might be issues. We can see the dump is good. And if we look at the MAME required files, there's a good list here. There's a CHD, there is the ROM set, and then there's all of these other BIOS files. Now to run this, we are going to do the same type of thing we did before. We are going to open up Bizhawk, go to Tools, and go to Multi-Disk Bundler. We are going to go to the folder that we want the XML file to be in. Just name it the same file name as the name of the ROM set. Select Arcade, and then we are going to go down the list here. First file needs to be the game. The next is going to be the CHD. And you click here to add. Select the add button to add additional assets that will go into the XML file. And then we're just going to start adding all of the other BIOS files here. Just going down the list here. And after you've made this, select Save. Look in the folder to make sure that it created the XML file. We could take a look at it, right-click and Edit. We can see it created it. We're going to do Save and Run. Sure, you just click Overwrite. There's no problem with that. Now for these larger files, it will take a second to load because it has to load all of these files, and the CHD here is like 250 megabytes. So, okay, it gives you a warning. You see how it's running here. Some of these may require some extra steps to go through, but this will work here. Yep, it's just going through here. Guilty Gear XX. All right, now as you see, that is the most complicated example. If you can do that, you can do anything else. Just remember, you need the ROM set name first, CHD, then the BIOS files. In arcade games, most games change their settings through things called dip switches. These dip switches can be accessed through the menu here in Bizhawk. First, you need to select Arcade, then select Settings. Usually the setting that you'd want to change would be the difficulty mode. Sometimes there may be some other version here, or lives, but this is where you'd change it. In an arcade game, unlike consoles, inputs can vary a lot. However, typically they have a coin and a start. These inputs could just be buttons, or they could have analogs. There could be a light gun. It all depends on what the game is and how many buttons. And there can be many different number of players as well. To begin TASing an arcade game, go to Tools and TasStudio. Now I'm going to open up a TAS project, which I have already done. And you can see here that you'll want a coin and then an input. Here you'll have to look at which inputs are relevant, but if it's a one-player game, you can get rid of the show player 2. As you can see, there are all these various inputs. You'll have to play and see what they do. Do a little bit of testing. To get more info, you can go to Tools and you can do the RAM search to get addresses. When selecting memory domains, you want to look for RAM memory domains and possibly system bus. Then once you find them, you can double click them and add them to the RAM watch. I have already a file that I've made for this game. You can see I put a note for the name of what the address is, the value, and it also lists the domain. One other thing you can do here is that arcade games do not show lag. So what you can do is open up Lua Console. There is a script, ManualSetLag. I will right click to show you what it looks like. Essentially what it's doing is you have to search for an address that will change based on whether you can put in input or not. So if the game is loading, like in the middle of in between levels, you shouldn't be able to put in any input. It's just no input there. And you need to find that address and then put it here. Right here on this line 15 memory read byte. And I will show you what this will look like in TasStudio. We'll go back to the beginning. Now it's loading and you can see how all the frames are red. It's not able to really read input there. Now with the green, it does. So this script is very useful. In closing, I'd like to show you a common issue if you do happen to have a merged file. So this file I'm going to open is not going to work because it is actually missing files. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to open this file. And then it'll show you this screen. It'll show you like a list of the ROMs in the set, but it won't know what to do because it doesn't have a complete set. Now if you click cancel, it'll show you the arcade load error, system exception, and then it'll show you the ROMs that it doesn't have. So what you can do is you could search for these files, or you could search for just the non-merged file for that game. That's something to keep in mind there. And that's a wrap. Thank you for watching and have fun playing arcade games in Bizhawk.